Purposeful Nudge introduces architecting choice, behavioral operations in field services.
Corporate standard operating procedures are designed around work as imagined. They assume a pristine environment where instructions are followed sequentially. On paper, these idealized workflows are clean, linear, fully documented, and strictly policy compliant. But at the operational edge, that idealized sequence fractures into work as done. Frontline execution is constantly interrupted, heavily improvised, driven by severe time pressure, and entirely shaped by local human judgment. This gap between the conference room design and the field reality is where process debt accumulates and where software adoption breaks down. Enterprise AI and digital initiatives fail because they attempt to govern an idealized process rather than supporting a chaotic human reality. Consider the psychological state of a field service technician arriving at a critical equipment failure. Stakes are high, and the client is anxious. Under this stress, human cognition narrows. The brain abandons complex, multi-step instructions and reverts to fast, intuitive muscle memory. In these high-pressure moments, dense reference manuals and rigid compliance protocols are instantly ignored in favor of whatever action resolves the immediate tension. Because human biology cannot be overridden by a manual, process designers are shifting toward behavioral architecture, a method of engineering the environment to work with these cognitive constraints. The core mechanism of this architecture is the behavioral nudge, a subtle, embedded prompt that guides a real-time decision. Rather than demanding an action, a digital nudge suggests it. It preserves the technician's autonomy while gently steering them toward the correct operational outcome. The goal of a modern field service management platform is to engineer the workflow so that the right choice naturally becomes the path of least resistance. This approach is rooted in cognitive psychology, specifically the framework developed by Daniel Kahneman. Kahneman maps out two modes of thought. System 2 is the slow, deliberative, and calculative part of the human brain. Legacy software relies heavily on System 2. It forces technicians to read dense documentation or navigate complex, multi-step drop-down menus while on site. These constant System 2 demands create cognitive sludge. They drain the technician's mental bandwidth, degrading their focus and their capacity for customer empathy. System 1, by contrast, is the fast, automatic, and intuitive side of human cognition. To succeed, modern platforms must shift daily software interactions away from System 2 friction and towards System 1 automaticity. Clearing administrative sludge restores the technician's ability to focus entirely on the human problem in front of them instead of fighting their own software. The highest psychological barrier to clean operational data entry is initiation friction, the mental cost of simply starting the task. This diagram compares a legacy System 2 workflow on the left with a modern System 1 workflow on the right. On the left, manual data entry requires searching through drop-down menus. This creates a severe cognitive bottleneck. Facing this bottleneck, technicians engage in application bypass. They skip the logging process entirely and just call their peers for the answer. On the right, we see the implementation of a golden default. Instead of making the user select options, an AI extracts the serial number and fault code directly from a single photograph. The burden of choice is completely removed. A slow, deliberative System 2 task has been compressed into a fast, automatic System 1 action. By utilizing the golden default, organizations secure total data fidelity without extracting any additional cognitive effort from the technician. Beyond technical data entry, these same nudges are used to reinforce behavioral standards like safety and customer empathy. Abstract corporate values printed on motivational posters fail at the edge because technicians default to muscle memory under stress, not corporate slogans. To bridge this gap, organizations use the service standard ladder. The first two rungs of this ladder translate a broad core principle, like empathy, into a specific observable action, such as repeating a customer's concern. The crucial third rung is the consistency trigger. This defines the exact operational moment that specific behavior is required. A modern platform monitors background data and telemetry to identify that trigger in real time. When the trigger is hit, a digital nudge is deployed. For example, a slide-out banner appearing mid-task to remind the technician to start with empathy for a frustrated repeat caller. Push-based salience operationalizes culture. It delivers the next best action directly to the screen, precisely when the technician needs it most. In most enterprises, knowledge is fragmented across disconnected CRM, ERP, HR, and supply chain tools. To combat this, smart digital assistants are deployed as a unified behavioral reinforcement engine sitting on top of these isolated fragments. This is a typical interface for a modern smart assistant, functioning as a single personalized entry point. Looking at the callouts, you can see how this system is optimized for mobile access, multi-language support, and single sign-on, removing technical barriers to entry. These systems utilize background analytics to transition a passive search bar into a proactive engine for push nudges. If the assistant analyzes background telemetry and flags a systemic issue, like a negative illness trend developing across a field team, it immediately pushes a targeted intervention, suggesting specific actions to the manager right inside the chat interface. Embedding these nudges within daily digital tools transforms routine communication channels into scalable, invisible architects of company culture. When you scale these micro-behaviors across an entire organization, the macro-level business outcomes become highly visible. High-performing companies aggregate these shifts into an executive insight loop, tracking behavioral trends alongside standard performance data. By removing friction, operational KPIs improve. First-time resolution rates can spike by 32% when technicians are freed from administrative sludge. This slide details an initiative by Coca-Cola European partners, proving the impact of this approach with a metric of over 760,000 hours saved. This massive yield was achieved by applying behavioral nudges and frictionless UI directly to internal HR and management processes. The architectural focus shifted away from measuring input compliance and moved entirely to tracking tangible output. These exact same principles scale directly to external operations, governing how field service technicians maintain complex hardware on site. When UI removes cognitive friction across an enterprise, isolated micro-decisions compound into massive, quantifiable returns on investment. In the modern tech stack, IoT sensors read the environment, AI processes the data, and digital twins simulate the outcomes. But field services act as the ultimate execution interface. This is the exact point where abstract data becomes tangible physical action. Digital nudges serve as the operational fixtures that align human execution with algorithmic intent. AI and platform design must amplify human judgment at the edge, rather than attempting to replace it. Enterprise architects must build AI alerts that integrate seamlessly into the natural workflows technicians already use. Operational stability depends on software that is specifically architected to trust, protect, and support the psychological realities of the humans executing the work.
For more insights, subscribe to Purposeful Nudge and start rewiring your field services organization today.